There is a temple in Japan. It has been standing for over 1,000 years. The wooden beams that hold it up are still strong, still solid, still perfect, but your wooden deck, built 5 years ago, is already rotting, already falling apart. How is this possible? How did ancient Japanese craftsmen create structures that lasted a millennium, while modern lumber deteriorates in a decade? The answer lies in a technique that has been forgotten, a method refined over centuries, a process that turned ordinary timber into something extraordinary, something that could withstand centuries of weather, centuries of moisture, centuries of decay. This is not magic. This is not luck. This is engineering. This is knowledge. This is the ancient Japanese method that made wood last 1,000 years. Let me take you back in time. Let me show you what these craftsmen understood. Let me explain the principles that guided their work. Let me reveal the secrets that modern woodworkers have abandoned. The foundation of this technique began with tree selection. The Japanese did not cut down any tree. They were selective. They understood that different species had different properties. Some woods were naturally resistant to rot. Some were naturally strong. Some had grain patterns that made them ideal for specific purposes. The craftsmen studied trees. They learned which species thrived in which climates. They learned which woods performed best in different applications. The timing of the harvest was crucial. Trees were not cut randomly throughout the year. There was a specific season for cutting. Winter was preferred. Why? Because during winter, the tree's sap content was lowest. The wood was drier. The wood was more stable. When you cut a tree in its winter, you get wood that is less prone to warping, less prone to cracking, less prone to splitting. This single decision dramatically affected the longevity of the finished product. The felling process itself was methodical. Trees were not simply chopped down and processed immediately. Instead, they were left standing for a period after being cut. The tree would be girdled. The bark would be removed in a ring around the trunk. This prevented the tree from transporting nutrients and water. The tree would die while still standing. The wood would begin to dry naturally. This process, called seasoning, could take months or even years. The result was wood that was partially dried before being processed further. Once the tree was sufficiently seasoned, it was cut into logs. But the cutting process was not random. The logs were cut in specific ways to minimize checking and cracking, and the grain direction was considered. The size of the logs was calculated based on the intended use. The craftsman understood that how you cut the log affects how it will behave as it continues to dry. The logs were then stacked for further seasoning. This was not a haphazard pile. Instead, the logs were arranged carefully so air could circulate around each log. They were kept out of direct sunlight and sheltered from rain. The seasoning process could take years. The craftsman understood that rushing this process led to inferior results. Patience was essential. During the seasoning process, the wood underwent significant changes. Moisture evaporated slowly. The wood shrank and the grain stabilized. Over time, the material became harder and more resistant to decay. This transformation was essential. Wood that was properly seasoned was fundamentally different from freshly cut wood. It was more durable, more stable, and more resistant to rot. After seasoning, the wood was ready for treatment. This is where the Japanese method became truly distinctive. Craftsmen treated the wood with natural oils and compounds. These treatments served multiple purposes. They protected the wood from moisture, insects, and fungal growth. They also enhanced the natural color and beauty of the wood. One of the most important treatments was the application of persimmon tannin. The tannin came from unripe persimmons and was mixed with other ingredients to form a protective coating that was applied to the surface. The tannin penetrated the wood and bonded with the fibers, creating a barrier against moisture and decay. The result was wood dramatically more resistant to rot. Another crucial treatment used natural seed and nut oils. These oils filled the pores of the wood, helping to keep moisture out while preventing the wood from drying too quickly. They formed a protective surface layer and brought out the natural grain, producing a warm, rich color. The application was not quick. Craftsmen treated the wood repeatedly, allowing each layer to dry completely before adding the next. That layering created depth of protection and durability that could last centuries. They knew a single coat was insufficient. Multiple applications were necessary, and the time invested was worth the result. The joinery techniques used in Japanese construction also contributed to the longevity of wooden structures. Joints were designed to allow for movement. Wood expands and contracts with changes in humidity. Japanese joints accommodated this movement. They did not fight it, they did not try to prevent it. Instead, they worked with it. The result was structures that remained intact even as the wood moved and shifted over centuries. The design of the structures themselves was also important. Roofs were designed to shed water effectively. Overhangs protected the walls from rain. Ventilation was built into the design. Air could circulate. Moisture could not accumulate. The structures were designed with longevity in mind. Every element served a purpose. Every element contributed to durability. The maintenance of these structures was also crucial. The Japanese understood that preservation required ongoing care. Wooden structures were inspected regularly. Damaged elements were repaired. Protective coatings were reapplied. The wood was clean, and moss and algae were removed. This regular maintenance prevented small problems from becoming major issues, and it extended the life of the structures dramatically. The craftsmen also understood the importance of using the right wood for the right purpose. Certain woods were used for structural elements, chosen for their strength. Other woods were used for decorative elements, chosen for their beauty. The craftsmen matched the wood to the application. They did not use a one-size-fits-all approach. They understood that different woods had different strengths and weaknesses. The knowledge of which woods resisted rot was particularly important. Certain species naturally contained compounds that resisted decay. Hinoki wood contains oils that prevent fungal growth. Sugi wood has similar properties. The craftsmen preferred these woods for applications where rot resistance was critical. They understood the properties of different species, and they made informed choices based on that knowledge. The storage and protection of finished wooden elements was also important. Beams and boards were not left exposed to the elements. They were stored in dry locations, protected from rain, and shielded from direct sunlight. When installed in structures, They were positioned to minimize exposure to moisture. The craftsmen understood that even treated wood needed protection. They took steps to ensure that protection. The environmental conditions where structures were built also influenced their longevity. Buildings in dry climates lasted longer than those in wet climates. Structures with good drainage lasted longer than those with poor drainage. The craftsmen chose locations carefully. They designed drainage systems, and they positioned structures to minimize moisture accumulation. They worked with the environment rather than against it. The cultural understanding of wood as a living material was also significant. The Japanese viewed wood not as dead material, but as something that continued to live and change. This perspective influenced how they treated it. They showed deep respect for the wood. They worked with its natural properties. They did not try to force it into unnatural forms. This respect and understanding translated into better results. The spiritual aspects of Japanese craftsmanship also played a role. Craftsmen approached their work with intention, and they focused on quality. They took pride in their work, and they understood that their creations would outlive them. That perspective encouraged them to do their best, to use the best materials, and to employ the best techniques to create structures that would last. The transmission of knowledge from master to apprentice was essential to preserving these techniques. Young craftsmen learned by working alongside experienced masters. They absorbed the principles, mastered the techniques, and learned the importance of quality. This apprenticeship was more than training. It was a cultural commitment that kept skills alive across generations. This knowledge was passed down through generations. It was refined and improved over time. The techniques became more sophisticated. The results became more impressive. The contrast between ancient Japanese structures and modern buildings is striking. Ancient structures have survived earthquakes. They have survived fires. They have survived centuries of weather. Modern buildings often require replacement after just a few decades. The difference is not in the materials available. It is in the knowledge. It is in the techniques. It is in the philosophy. The ancient craftsmen understood something that modern builders have forgotten. The economic implications of this knowledge are significant. Structures that last 1,000 years are economically superior to structures that last a decade. The initial investment is higher, but the long-term cost is dramatically lower. The ancient Japanese understood this. They invested in quality. They invested in durability. They understood that the cheapest option is often the most expensive in the long run. The environmental implications are important. Structures that last 1,000 years have a much lower environmental impact than structures that need constant replacement. The resources required to build them are used efficiently, and the waste is minimal. The ancient Japanese approach was sustainable, and it is something we should learn from. The lessons from Japanese wood preservation are relevant today. We face serious challenges with sustainability. We need to build structures that last, reduce waste, and use resources efficiently. The ancient Japanese methods offer clear guidance. They show that durability is possible, that quality is worth the investment, and that knowledge and technique matter. Modern woodworkers are beginning to rediscover these ancient methods. Some are experimenting with traditional treatments, Some are studying traditional joinery, and some are learning to select and season wood properly. The results are impressive. Wood treated with ancient Japanese methods lasts dramatically longer than wood treated with modern commercial methods. If you could see a wooden structure that has been standing for 1,000 years, you would understand something important. You would see that human knowledge and skill can create things that last. You would see that the ancient craftsmen possessed wisdom that we have lost. You would see that quality and durability are possible, and that it is worth investing in doing things right. The Japanese ancient method that made wood last 1,000 years is not complicated, and it is not expensive. It is based on understanding wood, respecting materials, and taking time to do things properly. It is based on knowledge that has been refined over centuries. This knowledge is still available, and these techniques can still be used. The question is whether we have the wisdom to learn from the past. If you found this exploration of ancient Japanese woodworking fascinating, and you want to learn more about how traditional craftsmen solved problems, please hit that subscribe button. Here at Shinro Way, we explore the knowledge that created lasting civilizations. We reveal the techniques that produced remarkable results. We uncover the wisdom that modern people have forgotten. If you want to go deeper and understand not just how these techniques worked, but why they worked, check out our other videos. We have videos about traditional Japanese joinery, wood selection and seasoning, natural treatments and finishes, and how ancient knowledge applies to modern challenges. Each video reveals another layer of this remarkable tradition. Leave a comment. Tell us what surprised you most about Japanese wood preservation. Tell us what you think about the contrast between ancient and modern construction. Tell us what ancient techniques you think we should rediscover. Your comments help us understand what resonates with our audience. Your engagement helps us create better content. If you really want to support our mission to preserve and share ancient knowledge, consider becoming a channel member. Members get early access to new videos. Members get exclusive content. Members get behind-the-scenes looks at how we research these topics. Members become part of our community of people who are passionate about understanding history, craftsmanship, and sustainability. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being curious about how ancient people solved problems. Thank you for caring about understanding the wisdom of the past. Because understanding the past helps us build a better future. And understanding Japanese woodworking helps us understand that quality, durability, and sustainability are possible. They require knowledge. They require skill. They require respect for materials. But they are possible. Remember, the ancient Japanese method that made wood last 1,000 years was not magic. It was knowledge. It was technique. It was respect for materials. It was understanding how to work with nature rather than against it. And that's a lesson we can all learn from. In a world of disposable products and planned obsolescence, we need to remember that durability is possible. That quality is worth the investment. That knowledge and skill matter. That structures built with care and expertise can last for generations, for centuries, for 1,000 years.